You gotta have a meltdown sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you do.
Yeah, people don't like seeing you have a meltdown, though.
But we all have them.
Oh, we all have them. It's just like you do it in public, and then people are like,
I hate how
that
fake.
guy's got problems.
I hate how fake life is.
Life is nothing more than a game of appearances. You just need to appear to be the like some sort of a well-rounded person, as to not be outcasted.
Hopefully you find people where you're at least close to who your ideal self is, though. You definitely should know. You can be as fake as much as you want outwardly, but I think inwardly you should know who you actually are. And hopefully you have another thing that you should have is just a group of people where you can get to the ideal you as close as possible, right? Like,
Everybody's battling for identity in one way or another, you know. And sometimes people are looking outward to find a sense of identity, like through their community or whatever organization that they'll associate themselves with. But like people struggle the hardest, I think, with looking inward to find that sense of identity. And that's the most important thing you can do in order to cultivate your own personal identity.
Looking inward.
Yeah, looking inward. Always
going on a walk.
Yeah, always look inward, always invest in yourself, do whatever you can to make yourself feel whole or uplifted.
Exercise.
Of course, whatever form that takes.
Watch a nice movie.
That's what we do.
Read a good book. And then watch Colin Firth quote it in a movie.
Yeah. I mean, art imitates art. What can I say? Yeah,
sure. Why not?
It does. Art imitates art,
sure.
and art imitates life, and life imitates art, and the cycle will continue till everything's gone, I guess.
I promise we had a different intro.
We did have a different intro.
We just went off the dome, just going from Always Sunny in Philadelphia to some kind of existential
This is very
realization.
philosophical. I like
it is,
that,
but
though.
maybe we should have a philosophical podcast.
Maybe. I don't think we're gonna talk about the Bikeriders at all today. Now.
Should we just talk about random shit?
Yeah, let's talk about philosophy.
You want to talk about philosophy?
Yeah, I love philosophy.
I'm not really a philosopher, to be honest with you.
Really? Why did I think that about you?
I mean, I do like stoicism, but
okay. How would you describe that?
I think
being neutral all the time.
Not necessarily neutral, but just sort of a little more hesitant to react to things, like just be more open to change. Like it's just really just thinking about the things that are happening to you and choosing how to react, just being cognizant of your reactions.
That's good.
There's one Stoic philosopher, and I'm just blanking on his name, but he was just talking about how he used to hate his relationship with his father. Mm-hmm. And it just really took over his life. It ruined other relationships that he had. But then he thought one day, like, why do I feel that I deserved a good father? You know, like, why should everything in my life go well for me?
The way that you think it should.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so once he sort of disarmed himself from that need, you know, that him wanting to have a better relationship with his father or to have a good father, he could continue on with his life.
Of course. I mean, everybody out there has these predispositions that are actually not really based in any sense of reality. And well, by that I mean just everybody, they're born, they're reared, and they're raised by by whoever, and they think that they're supposed to have this. They're supposed to be in like this box because everybody else seems and appears to be in this certain box. Yeah. And when you feel like because of forces out of your control, you're the deviant, you're the anomaly that doesn't fit into that box of having this, you know, standard nuclear family that like raised you and treated you right, so to speak. It's hard for you to sit there and reconcile with like, what did I like? Why shouldn't I have had that? Because everybody else did, and everybody else appears to have turned out okay. But I'm sitting here with this generational trauma because of this parent that I didn't get along with for whatever form that takes. And that's interesting though, because this person seemingly stopped and thought to myself, it's like, I mean, was that something I deserved? Because I think a lot about the concept of deserving versus entitlement. And they're two very, very different things. What somebody is entitled to is not necessarily what somebody's going to be deserving of.
Well, society tells us that we should have things, therefore we feel entitled to them, right? Like
especially in American.
Oh my!
Like
in America, the American dream.
Yeah, in America, where we all feel like we're entitled to all of these luxuries.
Yeah.
And the reality is, like, not all of us gain them, and we'd love to throw a fit when we don't get them because we're so privileged here.
I would even say that people think that it's more likely that white people would get it, but it's white, heteronormative, wealthy, Christian.
Exactly. There's more to it than just that.
Way more to it.
And, I mean, we're, two black gentlemen in America. So
are we?
Yeah.
Oh, we're gentlemen?
I would say so. I'd say we're very well put together, even though you are in a very nice button-up shirt and khakis, and I'm just wearing a tank top and gym shorts.
You're at home. I just got off of work, and you're at home.
You just got off of work, and I just came off like a basketball court.
Let me tell you something. If we were at my place, I would look like you, but with a do-rag, which I like. It's okay, dude.
I love that. I love that. We'll record at your place next.
I don't know. Well, actually,
sometime down the line.
Oh yeah, we'll have. Like our audience is just like, what the fuck
are they talking about right now? Get to the movie already.
I don't care about your opinions, Romanus. I don't care about stoicism. Yeah.
I don't care about Davis's philosophies about deserving versus entitlement. I don't want an identity lecture. I'm not here to listen to identity therapy.
I wanted to ask you though, what are things that you felt entitled to?
Things that I felt entitled to?
Yeah. And maybe you still feel entitled. I don't know.
Things that I feel entitled to? I don't know. Clean water, I guess.
Well,
necessities.
Yeah, I hope everyone has access to clean water. I know it's not true, but I hope that's one thing.
I think everybody.
That I feel like we should.
I don't know. I mean, I feel entitled to, but I also would say people are deserving of that because, again, it is a necessity. I feel deserving of toilet paper.
You know what? Let's just get to the review. I was trying to have a genuine conversation.
I am too. I mean that. Like, well, what's your answer?
I think that when I was growing up, my parents put such an onus on education, and I always wanted access to like the best of everything when it came to work. Like I wanted to get into the best schools, get the best grades, and very early in my academic career, I'd say that just sort of those expectations just ran me into the ground. I was just always exhausted. Ended up showing up in my grades where I just could not care about class unless I was really interested. So like I would be, not doing so well, like getting C's in like social studies, but like get A's in math and physics. But just because I liked those teachers, but eventually I learned like, you know what, just what would actually make me happy are simple things that are actually really attainable. Like all I really wanted was just a nice apartment and enough money in my pocket to go to the movies whenever I wanted, like buy any bass that I want in Guitar Center, like just go out to brunch and get drunk with my buddies, like just,
fun.
Yeah, grab buy a motorcycle and then probably return it.
Yeah,
like after
did you do that?
No, but I want to. Because but like
so are these things that you feel entitled to, or are these just your wants, which I say is more synonymous with deserving?
I feel like at the beginning I felt entitled to this sort of black excellence, and it is. Just to, like, I was working for it, but I thought that I should work for it because it was something that, like, there was just no other option for me. And then I decided, like, this is just not, it's not that it's not attainable, it's just not something that really interests me anymore. I don't know what it is, but, like...
People change, people evolve.
I think naturally I just... looked in myself in the mirror and said, I'm exhausted because I keep chasing this. If I care a little less and actually like think about what I really want, it's actually almost low hanging fruit. Like
You know,
my desires are not much different from a guy that like works on the back of a garbage truck. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Like
yeah.
it just.
Like, I mean, slow money makes all the money in the long
Oh
run,
my
ultimately.
dude, my grandfather used to say that. Like,
Yeah, really. Mm-hmm.
well, just like the working man is way better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so true.
Well, this
Which
has
is
been an odd.
Yeah, yeah.
I promise you, we were
good.
gonna talk about something really stupid, but that's okay.
That's okay. I mean, we can pivot, and I would say that talking a little bit about identity and just trying to find a sense of identity leads us into our review here today.
Does
so,
it?
yeah, I mean, well, we'll get into
Fair.
it.
I'm sorry,
but you know, this has been a fun intro. But you know, as always, thank you everybody, and welcome back to the Loose Leaf Media Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Davis Leaf. I'm here with my co-host,
Romanus. And
today we are going to be talking about Jeff Nichols' new film, The Bikeriders, which we saw a couple days ago for an early screening, and it ended with a little bit of a Q&A. We didn't really stick around too long for that, but you know, that was a cool addition. So, Romanus, what did you think about the movie?
Well, I'll first read a summary.
Please do.
And then I'll probably get in a little into what I thought about the movie.
I would love to hear it.
Set in 1960, The Bikeriders follows the rise of the Vandals, a Chicago motorcycle gang. Seen through the eyes of its members and their families, the club evolves over the course of a decade from a surrogate family for local outcasts into a national organized crime syndicate.
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about with, like, finding a sense of identity.
Oh, sure.
Like, surrogate family. I mean, all of these people joined up with this biker gang.
Yeah.
Because they were, like, feeling outcasted and looking for a place where they could feel accepted.
I would say that that's probably most cases where people just get involved with just crime in general. They feel lost maybe because they're broke or they don't feel isolated
like they have
from
any
the
sense
family.
of protection. And a lot of like black communities, like Oakland or Los Angeles,
Chicago,
like
St. Louis,
people get involved with gangs because they can't rely on law enforcement to protect them because they're ultimately against them in a lot of ways. So I think that's interesting in terms of like motorcycle gangs and the culture that it can develop for people, because it is a staple of American culture in a lot of ways, like just riding choppers, motorcycles, and forming up with other people that have that same kind of passion. And I think the movie does a pretty good job of emphasizing those points.
Yeah, I would say that you've seen the biker gang be romanticized in American culture, right? Where like, have you ever seen, what's that movie with the Greasers and Pony Boy and Soda Pop? Do you know what movie I'm talking about?
I don't know if
or even just not even like Grease. In Grease,
just the movie Grease.
Yeah, the movie Grease, where like the guys with the grease in their hair and like the leather jackets. I mean, I'm blanking. The Outsiders. Have you ever seen The Outsiders?
Oh, I haven't. I know of it though.
Yeah,
is it good?
It's a okay movie. Tom Cruise is in it.
Yeah,
young Tom Cruise.
Young Tom Cruise. He did a lot more when he was younger than I remember. You know what I'm saying? There's so many things that will pop up every now and then. I'm like, wait, this is a Tom Cruise movie?
He's been in Hollywood for a long time.
A lot of fucking movies in the 90s. Have you ever seen the movie The Firm?
Yes, I have.
I've never seen that movie.
Hugh Jackman. No.
Wait.
Yeah.
Is he?
No, Hugh Jackman is not in that.
I was about to say, Hugh Jackman's in that? Why haven't I not seen
the old white guy that we always talk about that we love.
Which one?
Which one? Oh, well, yeah, there's only two, I feel like. Robert De Niro and this guy. God damn it. Okay, never mind. Let's get
anyway,
to it.
Like
whatever.
So what did you think about the Bikeriders?
I have to add just a real preview that when I first saw Dune 2, I saw the preview for the Bikeriders. And the preview was so good. And I just kept nodding my head and smiling like, I'm going to see this movie first day it comes out.
Absolutely.
Because it gave me a lot of... As a guy, I love gangster movies already. Just
I feel that.
I'm hanging out with my friends. We're committing crimes and drinking, and we look cool. Like, that's a perfect guy movie.
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch that for 2 hours.
You're preaching to the choir. I'm a sucker for crime dramas,
right? And it even just gave me like Goodfella vibes.
And
we'll get in.
Yeah, we'll get into the pretty obvious influences this movie feels like
it just looked like a really at least solid movie. Has a great cast, great director. Who he directed Mud a few years ago, right?
Yeah, he's got a great catalog of films. Mud, Loving, Midnight Special, Take Shelter.
Yeah.
Like these are a lot of these films are pretty indie, but he's worked. This is because this movie is the largest budget that he's ever worked with, and it's only $40 million, which is in a lot of circles still kind of an indie budget. But most of his movies are far below that. And I can sense that this is kind of the largest film that he's made so far in terms of his budget.
Yeah.
Like Midnight Special is a very science fiction driven film with a lot of effects in it, but it's still like it's a family drama and it's mostly like a chase movie, and it's very good as well.
Yeah, the movie has the Bikeriders has a good director. The cast is like Austin Butler right after his performance in Dune 2.
I know, which was just a spectacular performance in that movie.
This movie has a lot of momentum. Tom Hardy, Michael Shannon. It has the makings of a like semi-classic, right? Like
it does. It really does.
Is it gonna be Goodfellas? Probably not.
No.
Right? Okay.
It feels like a good summer movie in terms of like a drama.
Yeah.
Because like not a lot of like high profile dramas release over the summer.
Yeah.
This feels like a proper summer drama. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so like ensemble driven, and it's a crime story too, and it's like vague. It's loosely based off of a real story as well, but it's about a biker gang just riding around the Midwest, and it's shot really well.
right outside of my hometown, Chicago.
It must have been really interesting though for you to watch this movie. With
honestly,
like, familiar landmarks.
The movie looked like it could have been from any like Midwestern town.
It did. Yeah. Like the minute that I see like Austin Butler on his motorcycle, he's riding past some silos.
Yeah,
like these giant grain silos. Yep. I'm just like, that's anywhere in the Midwest, really.
I was a little disappointed in this movie.
Yeah,
and there are a lot of great, cool moments. There's a lot of moments where the actors shine, but the movie, it just doesn't feel like it doesn't make us care about the main characters.
I would agree. Yeah,
I just never was really invested into what's gonna happen to the main character Kathy, played by Jodie Comer, and who's also narrating the movie, and Austin Butler, who plays Benny, who's
who says 5 things the entire movie.
He says, and he talks like this.
He talks. He talks
like this.
So like, I don't want to dive too quickly into like the things I didn't love the most about the movie, but Austin Butler is just Austin Butler in a biker jacket.
Yeah.
Like, he looks exactly the same as he does in real life in this movie.
You know what? I want to...
It's jarring when you watch him in Dune 2 and then you watch this movie and it's like, that's just Austin Butler. Even him in Elvis, like, he looks like he's in character. And
even when he was at the award ceremony, he looked like he was in character.
Right.
Yeah, maybe he's a... what do they call a method actor? And it just takes him some time to, calm down.
Maybe, but like I didn't sense like he was. I just thought he was playing himself in this movie. Just
I've been biking since I was 15.
That's a good impression because I watched a couple interviews with him as a preface for this movie, and he has a very distinct way of talking. I love his he's a great voice actor, I would say, but in this. Think about what he does with his voice in Dune 2.
And Elvis, for sure.
And Elvis, these 3 movies, with Bikeriders included, are like his biggest films at this point, I would say. He has a very notable role in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well. But he's also kind of just normal mostly in that movie. He's good in the third act when he like tries to kill Brad Pitt. I like him in that part, but this is probably the least amount of range that I've seen him showcase as an actor in the Bikeriders.
Okay, before we dump all on Austin Butler, let's get to the positives.
Yeah.
Okay. I really, really like Tom Hardy as Johnny, who's the leader of the Vandals.
Yes, I have like 3 particular actors in this movie that I thought were like kind of the backbone of this movie.
Oh, okay. So name your 3.
Well, Tom Hardy is one of them as well.
Yeah.
Michael Shannon, who has a lot of great monologues in this movie. And
Zipco, who's another he's a member of the biker gang.
Yes, and he's Jeff Nichols regular. He's appeared in like most of his films, a majority of them, I would say. And Toby Wallace, who plays the kid in the movie. Very, very minor character in this movie, but also a very important character at the same time for the story. Great performance by him as the kid in this movie. So, yes, I agree. Tom Hardy is one of the highlights.
His performance almost reminds me of Joe Pesci's from Casino, where whenever he's on screen, he just steals the show.
He's got that magnetism to him. But he's just so subdued. He's just like such a subdued character. Like, even there's like 2 moments in this movie where I actually felt like he might snap on somebody. And he doesn't. Yeah. He maintains his composure, which is something Joe Pesci would not have done.
No.
But I know what you mean, where it's just like this magnetic presence whenever he's on screen in the movie, because he's like, I'm fully invested whenever he's talking or doing something in the story, because he's like one of the, like, probably the second most interesting character in this movie to me.
When I was, our favorite part of the movie, probably both of us, I'll speak for the both of us.
Please.
When I Feel Free comes on by Cream.
And
bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum.
I feel free.
Bum 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 bum. I feel free. I feel free. I feel free. We fucking, oh my god, we both looked at each other like, okay, this is like, a badass moment.
Like that's the moment where I sat up in my seat and you're like leaning forward at the movie, and I'm just like, I am locked.
Bro, I was leaning forward. I almost spilled my milkshake. Just like, I was just entranced, bro, because it was just such a cool moment. And he's with this gang riding motorcycles. And in that moment, I was like, damn, I got to get a motorcycle.
I know, right? I'm just like, this movie actually has some style, man.
It has a lot of style. And that's what I would say. This movie has a ton of great moments.
It really does.
And it's very strong with its monologues.
Oh, yeah.
You talk about Michael Shannon as Zipco.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where he's talking about how he got rejected from fighting in Vietnam, and how he was telling his brother that, pinks who are just, people that he hates that are like wealthy, educated white people.
Yep.
He hates, people that go to college, so he was telling his brother not to go to college.
It's a pretty humorous monologue, and a lot of his, like, the way he talks starts out with a lot of levity, and then it gradually transitions into this, like, very, like, humble, and there's a lot of humility, the way that he ends his monologues, and that one was no different either.
There's another monologue that I like by Emery Cohen, who plays Cockroach in the movie, and he's talking about how he wants to leave the gang, and man, for a minor character, he showed a lot of emotion that really stuck with me after the movie. There's just a ton of great monologues in this movie.
There are, and I think like that speaks to the fact that it really is an ensemble piece, because even the minor characters get like a moment in the movie.
Sure.
Like Boyd Holbrook, even when he's like just like working on his bike, and just like when his character is first introduced, and he's got a lot of interesting things to say, and like you get to know the characters, I would say, enough, most of them, I would say. And as an ensemble piece, it really, really does rely a lot, it feels like, for me, on its supporting characters for that reason.
I would say that's the strength of this movie. Yeah. The supporting characters are really fun. They do have a lot of heart, and it just goes... I think the purpose of it is to show that this is a group of misfits who feel left out of society.
Yeah. And their family.
And their family.
They care about one another.
They care about each other. They've come together. They were the kids that were just like runs that adults would talk shit to, and probably even some got bullied, some were bullies, and they got older and just started a biker gang.
Yeah. And there's a lot of themes of just like love and compassion that are sprinkled into there. Obviously, there's a lot of themes on masculinity here too, which obviously in a story about a biker gang, but there's a very it's a beautiful love story that is at the core of the story too. That I don't know if it like fully sticks the landing for in every way for me, but I like there's a core 3 characters in the movie with Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, and Tom Hardy. And Jodie Comer and Tom Hardy both have this love for Austin Butler's character for very different reasons. And there's kind of like a little bit of a brawl between Jodie Comer and Austin Butler, like an emotional brawl. fighting for the heart of Benny, Austin Butler's character. That I thought
there's conflict.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty well handled in the movie. But I would have liked to see more of it too, a little fleshing it out a little bit more.
Yeah,
because as good as the story actually is on paper, it's just like there are just some pacing issues. And I think that one thing that you had said to me after we saw the movie was that you thought it could have benefited from like another 30 minutes even.
I think 30 to 40 minutes,
honestly,
it could have been much better.
I agree. I could have sat with this movie for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Because it's like it was an interesting enough group of characters, an interesting enough world, and it's, I'm not going to say no to more crime drama.
Oh, of course not. We love violence.
Yeah.
This
non-violent crime.
This is a good segue because you bring up a good point of how like the emotional tension in this movie is the relationship between not necessarily a love triangle, but kind of, right?
It's a different kind of story.
Yeah, you have Kathy, who is married to Benny, and Benny is in this biker gang led by Johnny.
Yep.
And
he's like Johnny's right hand man.
He's Johnny's right hand man
because he's the only person like in this entire story that like scales almost a decade.
Yeah.
That Johnny actually trusts.
Yes.
And he's always expressing that to Benny, and I come to really admire their relationship in the movie for that reason.
And then this is where the movie kind of falls off because I actually buy Johnny and Benny's relationship more than Benny and Kathy.
Well, it's because we don't see Benny and Kathy together ever in this movie. There's like two very notable scenes where they're exchanging with one another. And it's about a 2-hour-long movie, and I don't remember a single scene where they're doing anything together in the movie.
That's not involved with the biker gang.
That's not involved with the biker gang. I don't come to know their relationship as a married couple at all.
Dude, to be honest with you, we were talking about this immediately after the movie. This couple is just not charming.
No.
And the movie doesn't do it any favors.
Yeah, and they don't need to be charming, but they weren't compelling. Like, I didn't care that they were married because pretty early on, I honestly started to forget that they were married.
Well, yeah, they should have had more scenes where like maybe they're on his bike more, they're just going for a ride, or like they're actually doing stuff. Like it just fell flat. Honestly, if you take these two characters out of the movie, how does the end change?
The end of the movie?
How does the end of the movie change if you take these two characters out? They don't impact the main storyline.
I mean, I don't really think there is a story without these two characters.
The
problem is it's like they're just not developed enough for me to care about them as characters, for me at least.
I disagree.
Yeah.
If we go to the sort of the beginning of the story where maybe minor spoilers, but the Vandals sort of expand and they have new chapters outside of Chicago. So the next one is Milwaukee, and then they have other chapters in different parts of the Midwest.
Yep.
And it evolves to, let's say it gets to the end. At the beginning of the movie, at that meeting, Benny's just nowhere to be seen.
I know.
Right? Like he has no involvement with the gang becoming just this crime syndicate in multiple parts of the Midwest.
It feels that way, right?
It feels that way. He has no say. And then at the end, well, Benny's not there. Yeah, Kathy's not there.
Yeah.
So they're really, like, maybe this story would have been better if it was just around Johnny because he actually he's the leader of this gang.
Well, so maybe, but I have a very, very specific opinion on where the POV should have been.
Oh, we will get to that. Yeah. I think that should be the spoiler side.
Yeah, we'll talk in depth about that.
By the way, I agree with you, but I'm just saying that these characters emotionally and story-wise just leave no impact on this story.
Not really. Particularly the two, like Benny and Kathy, and because like their love story is like a huge component of the emotional core of the story or the movie. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I just think was lacking in a lot of places. And so you said that there was a romanticism to like biker gangs.
Sure.
When you were originally describing this movie, and so I wrote something down where this story is based off of a photo book by photographer Danny Lyon, who is in the movie. He's played by Mike Feist, which was just a disappointment to see a waste of a perfectly good Mike Feist, because he does pretty much nothing in this movie, and he is a terrific actor.
He's holding a microphone and he just asks questions.
And again, I think that he only says like 5 lines the entire movie.
Probably.
He's in the movie substantially less than Austin Butler is. So I'm like, okay, you could have gotten anyone. Why did you get an incredibly talented actor like Mike Feist? I don't know. But this is his photo book that it's based off of, and the very little like reports that are in there, like writing, is just a couple of interviews that Danny Lyon had done personally with members of these biker gangs, particularly Kathy. But there's almost nothing about Benny in the story. In the photo book, yeah. The photos that are taken of Benny, none of them show his face directly. He's always facing away from the camera. And there's 2 notable images from the photo book that the movie really employs. One of them is this shot where he's crossing this bridge on his motorcycle, and his face is facing the river that the bridge is going over. And the other is the first shot that we see him, where he's on the pool table, and his arms are all like baby oiled up, and he's just looking down at the pool table, and we can't see his face. Those are 2 notable.
Oh, so and that's a shot in the movie. So that's a real.
Yeah, those are based off of actual images from the photo book.
That's kind of cool.
It is cool, but what apparently drew director Jeff Nichols to the movie is his. I listened to him talk about this in an interview, and I thought it was pretty interesting. His older brother, had given him this book in the early 2000s, and he loved it, and he felt this sense of like romanticism in biker culture. And he had been trying to get this movie made for 20 years, ever since he got this photo book. And so I think that there is like a little bit of intended romanticization from did I say that right? Is that right?
Well, if you're wrong,
romanticism.
Sure, yeah.
And I think there's some intended romanticism from what we see this biker gang as, but like there's never a moment where I feel like I necessarily think that they're when it turns into a full-fledged crime syndicate that I feel like they're doing the right thing. But there is a like honorable sense of liberation that I do understand that Jeff Nichols is trying to convey. Because I've interacted with like a couple of biker gangs that are like none of them.
Wait, what?
Well, none that as far as I'm concerned, were associated with any large organized crime groups. But like I spoke to some members in a couple of small towns.
In research for this podcast?
Oh, absolutely not. yeah. Like 5 years ago, I was like, oh, I'm going to see this movie.
I hate how you just dropped that with a straight face in front of me. I feel like the gang in this movie, it feels more like a social club. Like at the beginning,
it mostly does, because I don't feel like we see them do a ton of crime.
They drink and smoke, and
that's
they
almost
just
all
hang
they
out,
do the whole movie.
I mean, besides driving really fast on their motorcycles, they're not bothering anybody.
It doesn't feel like that's what I'm saying. So like, there's not a lot of like notable crime moments in the movie.
No, so, but I think back to the relationship between Kathy and Benny. Even at the beginning, how they fall in love just wasn't really. This movie should have grabbed you, right? Like the genesis of their relationship should be the hook. We should be falling in love with them as they're falling in love together.
But it's pretty instantaneous.
It's instantaneous
because I don't know who these characters are already, so I have no reason to care. And then the movie doesn't follow up their marriage with any other reason to care, because they aren't together as a couple that often in the movie. And there's a lot of like Scorsese style storytelling with the build up of it too. Because there's it feels like there's a lot of influence pulled from something like Goodfellas in this movie, and just that opening moment. Well, it's like this might be a spoiler, so I might save talking about that for the spoiler section. But there just are a lot of moments that feel very Scorsese influenced. The narration, I mean, I'm not gonna stereotype Scorsese movies as crime movies, but the way that the movie is structured and told is very reminiscent of a lot of the ways Scorsese structures and tells us, even down to the editing. Like so many editing choices are very much like Scorsese style editing choices too in this movie, and I like it, but it's just one of those things where it's like this feels like it's not doing enough of its own thing.
Well, they even steal a line from Goodfellas when Kathy sees Benny. It reminded me of when Henry Hill in the Goodfellas just gets done beating a guy up for Karen to defend her honor, and like she starts narrating, she says, "I gotta admit, I fell in love with him. I gotta admit, it turned me on." But in Bikeriders, I think it's like, "I gotta admit, I fell in love with him."
And I married him 3 weeks later.
I married him 5 weeks later. I don't know. I guess I'm stupid. I don't.
That's like the exact line too.
I couldn't tell you why I fell in love with him. It could only be stupidity.
I'm just like, okay. There's a reason why admitting you have a problem has so many steps, or like solving a problem has so many steps, and step 1 is only admitting it. So I feel like I can't even sympathize with the character when she's just admitting that it was a stupid decision, and then nothing else follows that up.
I genuinely have no idea why this couple's together besides her being stupid and him needing a woman. Him needing a woman to take care of him, which we do see a lot.
Yeah,
but like we've seen those relationships before.
Of course.
But it's just not. It just fell flat. Their relationship fell flat to me.
Yeah, it wasn't working for me. Like, I thought her relationship, even with Tom Hardy's character Johnny, was a lot more interesting too.
Probably. Well, the dynamic where you have a woman married to a gangster, and she is battling with the lead gangster, for his attention and loyalty. Really, it's their loyalty.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah, because like it does feel like it is a love triangle.
It does.
Like the story only works, I guess, when it feels like a love triangle, I guess, and not just them as a couple. But because like when Kathy is exchanging words with Johnny about trying to regain the affections of Benny, which has just completely been usurped from her because of Johnny, those exchanges are very interesting because they're both trying to gain the attention of this one person, and I like the catharsis of it though too, sort of. I think we should get into spoilers because I really want to talk in depth about like certain plot details.
Yeah, well, before we get into spoilers, I would say that I know that it sounds like I'm really disappointed with this movie, but I would say that it has so many cool moments and it's so stylistic that it's a nice experience in the movie theater. I think that maybe my disappointment is bleeding through, and I think in a year from now, I'm going to be watching clips of this movie on YouTube.
I know, right? It's one of those clip movies
it is.
that you love rewatching scenes from.
But only scenes. Like, I don't think I would... I just don't know if I'm going to sit down and watch the movie in full again.
Yeah.
And it just feels like a movie where the whole is not... the whole is not better than the sum of its parts.
I feel that.
It feels like it has a lot of great moments, and it doesn't... The thing about Goodfellas... there's a lot of great moments where you're like, damn, I wish I was a gangster. Just like, it's so cool. Like Henry Hill, he just has taken life by the horns, and it's because he's been empowered by the mafia. And not only are we entranced by how his life has been transformed by becoming a mafioso, but Karen also, just being a Jewish girl from the suburbs of New York, who just sees this man who is completely different from any other guy she's ever met and dated from her neighborhood. And she falls in love with his power too, with the scene where they're walking into the club and he can just snap his fingers and get a table. And like I said, the time where he beats the guy half to death because he,
did
something
weird shit to Karen,
right? Yeah. I even though you disapprove of that typical relationship of nice girl falls in love with bad boy, I can understand how Karen would fall in love with Henry. Yeah. And it makes you become invested in their relationship. Exactly. And you suffer with them by the end of the movie when they're Henry's behaviors finally catch up with them. Yeah. And I just wish that this movie would have been better if we believed in the relationship.
Exactly, because Kathy's, I'd say, a little bit more of a fleshed out character than Benny is. But the biggest problem with Benny is that the movie itself is describing him as just a careless dude, and that's what everybody admires about him.
He's very enigmatic.
Exactly, but it comes off as personalityless. like as the watcher, and I didn't. And for that reason, I'm just like, I don't find him to be a remotely interesting character.
You don't think I have character?
I think you have the Mr. Butler. It's great to see you. I think that
like
you have the
movie.
I think that you have the capacity to be.
I have the capacity.
Are you running out of breath with every sentence?
I need an inhaler. I'm about to die. I don't know. I saw him pass out, and I just fell in love with him. I passed out too when he looked at me. We were just two passed out people, and then I woke up 5 weeks later, and we were married. I don't know.
That was good. That was good. I didn't know you. I didn't know you did impressions.
I
think we're transitioning into spoilers with that.
We're going into spoilers.
We're going into spoilers.
You know what? Like, I didn't know how much the. I didn't know how much the accents bothered me until I woke up the next day and I started doing impressions of Kathy. I was shaving in the mirror, so and I was like, I don't know, it's got to be stupidity. Like, it's like it was so stupid.
So I watched a couple of interviews in preparation for doing this episode, and Jodie Comer really goes in depth about like how she's trying to perfect this accent and the lengths that she went to, because she had experience doing accents in the past, I guess. I've seen Jodie Comer in like 2 things before, and I thought she was terrific. And especially The Last Duel, when I saw her.
Oh my god! Fantastic movie.
Yeah, fantastic movie and fantastic performance by
Absolutely.
her. I never saw the show Killing Eve, which I know that she's very known for as well. I've heard it's very good too, and I'd probably like it if I watched it. But she talks a lot about getting her accent right, and it's like, how would you describe the accent? It's just like a South Midwestern accent almost.
It's trying to be Chicago.
Yeah. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I thought it was like the most distracting thing in the movie for me, because it's like I can't even really speak to the authenticity, because she listens to like 30 minutes of recordings from this character that she is, I don't want to say impersonating, but interpreting. And you'd think that that was enough, and she really, really praises her dialect coach that helped her get everything right. And maybe all of this is good, and maybe it sounds fine, maybe it's authentic, but I watched the movie and it's distracting to me because I just can tell she is doing an accent. It's just so far removed from her actual voice, and I just it's not that I can't separate it for the character, it's just such an accent that an actor is doing. It just, to me, doesn't sound like this person sounds real.
I don't know.
Like, I haven't listened to any of these recordings. Apparently, according to everybody that worked on the cast and crew, it's like, it sounds fantastic and it sounds perfect.
Including me.
Of course, including Austin Butler.
When I heard Kathy's voice, and then, what's her name? Comer?
Jodie Comer.
Then I heard Jodie. I thought, oh, is that Kathy or Jodie? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you just is he just perpetually baked?
I don't know what he is, but
because that's great if he is, but like that's just kind of how it's starting to come off. Like he's too cool.
He's too cool.
Honestly,
does that annoy you?
Yeah, it honestly annoys me a little bit about Austin Butler. He's too cool.
So we did after the movie.
Dial it back, bro.
After the movie, I'm talking to the audience now because they have to know who you are. After the movie, they just, the screen cuts to a question and answer session that Jodie Comer and Austin Butler are doing, and David just says out loud, Did Austin Butler just leave set and do this interview? Because Jodie Comer, changed her hair. Like the makeup is not woman in Chicago from the 60s and 70s.
She's got a thick accent that she's doing now. Her natural accent. It sounds terrific, darling.
Austin Butler talks like this with his teeth closed.
She's like there's a poshness to her accent, and then Austin Butler's just talking like that, and I'm just like, can you stop? Can you just stop talking like that? I don't care if it's it's apparently your real voice, because every interview I've ever seen you and you're talking like that, but I'm like, bro,
I talk like this.
You're honestly freaking me out with how cool you sound.
I wish that he talked like this in Dune 2.
Instead of, would you like some mint, my darlings? I'm gonna go fight in the arena. Help me.
Wow, okay. Look at Mr.
That's
Mr.
that's
Leaf.
Fade Rotha Harkonnen.
Mr. Leaf.
That's Nabaron Fade Rotha Harkonnen. He sounds
fantastic.
Great. I love every scene that he's in.
I forgot your last point. I'm so sorry that I interrupted you.
This is fun. So in conclusion, wasn't loving Jodie Comer's accent. I really wasn't loving her accent. And it was distracting to me. But that doesn't mean that I think that she gave a bad performance in the movie, which I don't think that. I think she's clearly acting.
She's trying. Yeah,
she's
absolutely.
very much acting.
Yeah.
And I think the direction is there for her character. Mostly, I just found her accent distracting, which is a personal issue. But her character is still underdeveloped for me in the story.
I feel like it wasn't...
And she was just the wrong POV to have.
I think she put too much... She tried to do a over-exaggerated Chicago accent. And it just felt fake. Like, what's weird about Chicago is that when you hear me talk, do I have an accent?
Not really.
No. And it's because the Chicago accent is more like suburban poor white people. Like, sorry, everybody, if you're poor and white from Chicago, but it's just the truth. But, like... Yeah,
shout out to poor white Chicago.
Poor white Chicago. I mean, just in other cities, it's the accents are more urban, where it feels, or like, I mean, maybe I can't even say that because there's definitely southern twangs, right? But
very much so.
I would just say that it didn't bother me. The more I just did not buy that this character would fall in love with Benny. Definitely Austin Butler's just voice. I found it more entertaining. I thought it was funny because he just sits down and is like, hey.
You gotta stop. I'm gonna keep laughing. You're too good at that. That should be your intro voice going forward now.
What's your name? Kathy? What are you doing? Want to go for a ride? No. Just like, it's just stupid.
Is that a question?
No, you know, a lot of women like Austin Butler.
I mean, I get it. He's definitely one of the most attractive people I've ever seen. But it's like, that's not even the thing that annoys me about him, though. Okay. Like, I'm cool with that.
All right.
I'm cool with him being that attractive.
Okay. Who's prettier, Jodie Comer or Austin Butler? Who's prettier?
Like, objectively?
Oh, what's up?
Like, objectively, Austin Butler.
Okay.
Yeah. Personally, Jodie Comer. But,
I love how this episode started off very philosophical, and now we've completely fallen off the rails.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're resetting.
We got so let's talk about the kid. I want to wrap this up with like the kid.
Okay.
Because I think this is the most important thing that you and I share regarding this movie.
Sure.
Because Toby Wallace, he's a minor character in this movie. He plays a character literally billed as the kid, which we were calling him that before we even looked up the cast billing and what their names were. And that was perfect. And I'm just like, damn, the movie knows what this character is. Clearly, he's the kid. Why is he not the main character? Because he has like 4 specific scenes in this movie, and they're all some of the best scenes in this entire movie. He's just this background character that, and it like, because we're in spoilers, he's the character that kills Tom Hardy at the end of the movie.
Kills Johnny.
Yeah, he kills Johnny. He assassinates him just point blank, very dishonorably. But he's the new guard, you know? He's this new group of bikers that are trying to like move on the turf of the old biker gang ultimately and take over for themselves. Which, you know, that's a pretty standard fall from grace plot point in a lot of crime drama stories. Like out with the old and with the new. But this character has like 4 scenes in the movie, and they're all fantastic, and he has a couple of great exchanges with Johnny in the movie. and they're fantastic. And you get a little bit of a glimpse of his like actual life outside of like motorcycle culture and biker culture, and it's not good and it's not pretty. And I'm just sitting there like, I want some more of that. I want to go into I want to understand the full scale of this kid's background and what led him to this. And we could have been in for a really good commentary on like how people join these gangs to escape situations like that when they can't find any protection anywhere else. And I guess there's like a subtle theme of that. But we also talked about the movie. We made a comparison to the movie, the second Sicario movie, Sicario, Day of the Soldado.
Yeah.
And also a really, really good movie. But that movie also has this kid who is manipulated and influenced into joining the cartel because his lifestyle isn't, in his youth, is just not good for him. It's not stable, it's not self-sustainable, and it's not creating a lot of avenues for success in his life. And they flesh that kid out quite a bit till it culminates in a very similar scene as the end of Bikeriders, and it ends perfectly. And I just feel like the movie could have done something similar to like that with the kid, in addition to having him be kind of the main character. And the narrator, by association as well, should be like watching this biker gang from a distance, like grow up and expand upon themselves. And, well, at the same time, adding development to all the other characters in addition, but things are just happening from this kid's point of view. And that was the biggest missing piece for me in this movie. It is a very personal opinion. I just think the movie would have benefited from that character's POV because he was a far more interesting character.
Yeah, my favorite scene in the movie is when this is the second scene that he's in, and he's starting to develop his own biker gang with his buddies because he's really young. And they're coming in with the blue jean jackets and the leather jackets, and he's about to leave his house, and his parents are fighting, or like maybe his grandfather and his mother are fighting. And his grandfather starts to beat his mother, and so like with a belt, and the kid takes the belt out of his grandfather's hands and starts beating him and even like choking him with his belt. And his mother's like screaming, telling the kid to leave the house.
And he chucks a plate at him.
As he's leaving, he chucks a plate at her, and he just stops, turns around, slowly looks at him like, and honestly, on his face, it's not even anger, it's just
disappointment.
It's disappointment. It's like,
but then you just see that feebleness of his mother at that same time too.
She's afraid of him, and he just walks out. It is such a that character.
It's one of the like most emotionally impactful scenes in the entire movie. It's very brief. But it just like that was the moment where I'm just like, this is the most interesting character in this movie. I'm interested in this life that he has, like what he's trying to do to get out of it, how he behaves, and what his family dynamics are, because it's just far more interesting than any other character in this movie.
I almost wish that if they're gonna bite off of Scorsese, might as well just keep going. They should have done multiple narrators. So like Jody could have been one, and then on the side,
when
maybe the kid
transitioning to different POVs just to develop characters. Because like once in Goodfellas, once Karen has her whole like 20-minute section where everything is taking place from her point of view, and she's adjusting to being, married to this guy and then like settling into that like housewife lifestyle. It's very, I know her character and I understand how she is and how she feels, and it makes her a very compelling character in that movie.
Absolutely.
And then it kind of transitions back to another character for another section of the movie too, and it's got this like unspoken chapter structure to it, and I think the Bikeriders could have benefited from a structure and a pace like that.
Oh yeah, no, there, even going back to Goodfellas, there's the scene where the police raid their house and Karen is like furiously trying to like flush these Henry's drugs down the toilet, and when Henry gets back and he's looking for the drugs because he has no more money, he needs to sell the drugs, and he looks at Karen's like, "Where's the drugs?" And Karen says, "I had to flush them down the toilet. They're gonna find it."
Karen, why would you do that?
I'm sorry,
Karen.
I'm sorry.
Karen, there were like millions of dollars in there.
Know.
Why would you do that?
I'm
Karen?
sorry.
Karen.
I'm sorry,
Karen.
But we're laughing, but goddamn,
the intensity in that moment is like
crazy. I remember watching that as a kid, just with doom, just the gut feeling, like even though these characters have both been through shit, right? Like we've seen them fall in love, we've seen them have falling outs, like we've seen Henry cheat, but like Karen is trying to look out for Henry, and it ends up backfiring.
Yeah.
And she feels terrible because now her man that she saw is like so powerful. Now he just is pathetic. He has nobody. They're the only two people that they have in their lives now.
Absolutely.
And man, there's
just nothing like that in the Bikeriders. No, and it's just so glaringly obvious that this movie is very influenced from a movie like Goodfellas in terms of it like telling a crime drama. And it just doesn't have enough of its own juice to stand on its own legs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say at the beginning. Like, I think that's what separates just really impactful movies. Like, you can make great scenes as much as you want, but if it doesn't come together in a complete narrative, then
like you said, some of its parts,
right? Like eventually, I probably will be watching scenes with the kid and Tom Hardy.
Right.
But like, man, are there any scenes that stand out with you with Jodie?
No.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't think
maybe
so.
Benny. But honestly, even for as prominent of a character as he was...
there's one particular scene. It's the opening scene of that movie because they reel back to it. The opening scene, like when he gets into the brawl, because it's like there's some pretty crazy violence and it's a pretty brutal fight. That's like probably the most interesting moment for his character, but it's just action. It's not character development.
So between the two main characters, we can only say that there's only one scene between the two of them that we can remember. Yeah. And only one of them was in that scene. Yeah. So to me, like...
And every other character has like probably more than one scene.
Cockroach got two scenes to me. Like
even Norman Reedus, he's not really in the movie that much. Dude. But when he first shows up, I didn't even realize that was Norman Reedus. Yeah. And then once he's talking, he's kind of goofy. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not used to seeing Norman Reedus act like this.
He was memorable.
He was, and he's really not in the movie that much. He's like in 3 scenes.
I think 3 years from now, if you ask me about this movie, I'm gonna remember the kid. I'm not gonna remember Benny or Jodie.
Like not the two main characters. No. But in conclusion, I think I would still recommend this movie.
Sure.
It's like, I mean, it's easy to watch, I would say. Mm-hmm. It's a fun movie. It's not really that complicated. It's a pretty by the numbers crime story, and if you're like me and you like crime dramas, you'll probably find a decent amount of enjoyment in this movie like I did, because it's a solid movie. It's like the furthest thing it's not at all like a misfire. There's a lot of care and devotion that I see that's put into this movie, and that's just because Jeff Nichols is a very good director, I would say. Mm-hmm. But, it's the movie that he has the highest budget that he's ever worked with, and it's probably coming out as my least favorite movie from his.
Yeah,
But I would still recommend, go and check it out. It's a good summer drama.
I definitely feel like I've been too sour on the movie during the review. I was disappointed, but I would still say, if you just want to have a decent time in a movie theater, you want to have a decent to good time, go see the movie. Yeah. It's and look, like, I think I told you this before, where like, remember when we just completely demolished the Watchers for that review? Yeah. Like,
everybody loved that. What's wrong with you all?
I mean, our audience loves negativity.
They want us to hate more.
And we love you too. We love that you hate. Thank you.
Stay hating.
Thank you for hating.
But why you always hating?
Why you hating? Yeah. No, but in like, seriously, when I looked to you and I was like, you know what? Like, if M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, if this was her first movie, we would be like,
I know,
like,
yeah,
home run.
Yeah. Like, I would be like, what a debut.
Just like, I would be like, it wasn't perfect, but it was a good movie for your first debut.
So true, right? Yeah. But like for a much more seasoned director, I'm not gonna sit here and say like Jeff Nichols, I expect better from you, because again, it's not a bad movie. It's solid. Yeah. But it's just one of those things where it's like, for as long as I know he was trying to get this made and the delays that this movie had faced, so I was like, come on, man.
It's a seasoned director with a seasoned cast, because like I said, like Austin Butler's coming off a good performance. Yep. I love Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy's great.
And even like...
And Jodie Comer's great as well.
Jodie Comer is she's an actress.
You didn't like her in Last Duel?
Oh, I did like Last Duel, but like again, like in this movie, I just didn't feel that was the same actress from the Last Duel. I gotta be, just.
Yeah. Some would say that's a good thing.
Oh well, you know what? You're probably right. Well,
Bikeriders, it's pretty good. Go check it out. Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah.
And as always, we're always looking for new questions, new topics, new feedback. So why don't you go ahead, send us something in our leaf pile. You can send it through our email, which is looseleafmedia95@gmail.com. That's looseleafmedia95@gmail.com. Send us any of your questions and send us if you guys go and see this movie, send us your opinion on it. We would love to hear it. We're looking forward to reading more people's thoughts and opinions going forward. So can't wait to hear from you all. But until then, it's been another episode of Loose Leaf Media, and as always, we thank you all for tuning in and listening. We really, really love doing this, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.